Hello, everyone. It's Friday. My name is Carmen Mezzera, and I am Executive Director of APSIA, the Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs. Welcome to day 5 of our PISA week. We are so excited to see all of you and to share a little bit more about what APSIA is, what PISA is, and how we can best be of service to you and your students. My colleague Brianna Suarez and I will walk through a little bit of some of those factors, and then we really want to answer any of your questions. Hey, does this exist? How do I answer this question? What's going on with that? What's the best place to get tapas in Madrid? Whatever you have, we will do our best to make up an answer for. So first and foremost, of course, I want to say thank you. Thank you to the amazing team at APSIA who have made this event possible, especially my colleague Baung Chur, who has really spearheaded this effort, even though she's only 6 weeks in. So she jumped right in with both feet, and we're so grateful to have her. I'm so grateful to have Brianna Suarez here to keep me moving forward and to keep me sane as APSIA does all sorts of different programming and projects. I want to thank all of you, especially those of you who've been able to join us all week. For those who've been able to just kind of come in and out as schedules permit, we are glad that we have a whole playlist of the content from this year, as well as past PISA workshops on our YouTube page, and we'll make sure to get that in the chat for you. So if there's any content you want to visit again or catch up on, it will all live there. I also finally want to thank the Robertson Foundation for Government, whose investments make PISA possible and who enable APSIA to continue moving forward and be of service to you and to the broader community. With that, let's talk a little bit about what this APSIA thing that I keep mentioning is. APSIA stands for the Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs. So much like other disciplines have their communities, we're the community for graduate schools worldwide that specialize in international affairs and all of the many things that includes: defense, diplomacy, development, business, trade, education, peace and conflict resolution. We have a little bit of everything in there. Also, about half of our schools also do domestic work in their national context. So if your students are trying to figure out how that local and global connect, many of our schools are also of service in that arena. Our work really has 2 parts to it. One part is really focused on our graduate schools, and the other part is focused on all of you. As advisors, as influencers on your students, we work a lot with employers to help connect them to the amazing opportunities that APSIA schools provide. And then we work with lots of partners. So we're always happy to try to build bridges between you and those partners as we try to hold up the many professions in international affairs, to talk about why it's important to study these international issues, and then hopefully make it easy for your students to come into this space. I want to very briefly walk you through some of the tools and resources that we have. Can everybody see the website that I've got up on the screen? Thumbs up, maybe something along those lines. Yay, excellent. This is APSIA.org. And I just want to highlight a few of the many tools and resources that we have on our website. And then I'll also walk you through and tell you a little bit more about what the PISA network looks like. So at APSIA.org, as you can see, we have things as broadly as why international affairs and why APSIA schools. And we have a couple of very brief quizzes that your students can take to try as they sift through the many different possibilities that are there and within that space. We also have a directory of all of our graduate schools. So for example, you can see who our members are, get a little bit of a profile of them. I'm just clicking through very quickly here. You can go directly to their websites, students who want to apply, who know what schools they're looking for, or they can look at a member's profile, learn a little bit more about that institution, get links to their social media channels, get links to their employment outcomes, get links to information on their application deadlines, even take a campus tour, see some, or in this case, the many degree programs offered by that school. And when they're curious, who else is in this space? What do you do with these kinds of degrees? Our schools often have profiles of students and faculty and staff that they can turn to learn a little bit more. And then when there are job openings for those who are thinking about careers in education or faculty positions or even postdocs, they can find those positions as well. So all of our schools have this kind of information there. And then many of them will also have events that they're hosting, like a visit day or news about what's going on in their individual school. We have an active career guide that you can use. And as you can see, it will showcase for you and for your students so that when that kid comes into your office and says, I'm interested in energy and the environment and climate change, and if you have not yet explored that particular career space, you can take them to the site. Many advisors do this, and then bring down to the energy and environment section, which my computer is being cranky and won't do. And here we unpack the space a little bit, offer some suggested employers, offer some tips, and then talk a little bit about what kinds of skills they might find useful as they go into this space. It's a very high level guide. It's not meant to really help them delve deeply into these issues because we know how big and broad and complex they are, but it's a great beginning and a good starting point for many of you. Also, if you're trying to figure out what the big different categories in this space are. We know the field is enormous, and my colleague Briana will talk about some of the ways that we can demystify some of this through some services we offer. But the career guide can be a great place to start. Again, just thinking about some of the big buckets that we have, because we know how much there is to unpack here. We also have an active jobs and internships board where partners and schools will post remote internships, jobs, fellowships, postdocs, all kinds of opportunities. So if students don't know where to start, that can be just a beginning for them to find whether it's a think tank, a US government job, a company, lots of different possibilities there, many of which are also remote. So wherever you happen to be, there might be an opportunity for your students that way. We also have on our site a filterable directory of fellowships and scholarships. So as students are trying to figure out, how do I pay for graduate school? How do I pay for that study abroad? I want to pick up more languages or do some research. They can filter here through all sorts of different topical areas. If you have international students who might be from outside the United States, they can sort that way. They can sort whether they're currently an undergraduate, if they've already graduated. We have some targeted focus for multicultural students. And then finally, the kind of opportunity they're trying to pay for, whether it is research, work experience, study abroad, language training, all of those different pieces. So you can find there, if you have a student who's really trying to figure out how they pay for language study, you can see some of the many different possibilities. The students can go straight to their page or learn a little bit more about that particular opportunity there. We also host a ton of events throughout the year, and Briana will talk much more about those because a lot of them are specifically aimed at your students. They're all free, they're all openly available, and we really want to encourage your students to engage with us because our work really is to hopefully make it easier for them to find the tools and resources that they need. And when they can't do that, we have a series of open office hours so they can just come and ask us directly, where is this thing and how do I find it? So that is a very high level tour of APSIA.org and some of the many tools and resources that are there. But as a complement to that, we have built a site specifically for the PISA network. And I know I've been using this acronym all week and I've explained it a little bit, but broadly, the Public and International Service Advisor Network is a community for all of you. Those who want to be and who already are champions on your campuses to bring more young folks into this space. We know that other disciplines, whether it's veterinary medicine or law or all of these spaces, have lots of tools and resources for you. And so over the last 4 or 5 years, we have been building up what we hope will be a way for you to be even better counselors, even better champions of these issues on your campus. So if that wasn't enough detail for you, please feel free to read more in the About Us section. But I want to highlight for you, if you'd like to request materials, now that some of us are back in person and giving out paper again, we're happy to reach out to our members, reach out to our partners and get those in your hands. And Briana will also talk a little bit more about this request a presentation link, but all of this can be found through the pisanetwork.com website. We have some FAQs. We have a discussion board, which I admit has been a little quiet over the years, but if you have questions, I'll talk in a minute about the listservs for all of you, but this is also a place to post questions to get your questions answered. And to, when you have nothing else to do, as if that exists in our day, feel free to go and check it out and see what others might have posted. But in particular, I want to focus right now on our resources directory. Again, this is a place and a space for you. If you need content for that weekly newsletter that you drop or your social media channel that you manage, if you need a handout, one of the things that we have here is the ability to look for handouts and downloads, events, experiential opportunities, funding, and other tools that you might have. And what we also enable you to do is to sort it, whether you're looking for a handout about careers, a handout about graduate school, a handout about broader professional development. What you can do is, as you sift through, it will let you zero in on some of these different pieces. Again, all of this is free that you can use to download and give out to your students or give out for your own reading enjoyment on the during your commute to beef up your knowledge about all of these different spaces and places. So we shared, for example, on Tuesday when we did the workshop and comparing different degree programs, this handout comparing different degrees. So if you wanted to download it, you can give it out to your students or have it out in your advising office as just an easy way for them to try to make sense of all of the alphabet soup and all of the different possibilities that are there. The very last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of PISA is the listservs and the network that we have. So for those of you who've attended sessions this week, we will add you to that community, which has a number of different things that we offer. We do webinars for you and for your students throughout the year. For example, next Wednesday, April 6th, we're hosting a session on the Peace Corps, myths and realities of what Peace Corps life is like, free and open for you and your students to beef up your knowledge on that space. We posted that event invitation on the listserv for all of you. Every Friday, I drop a series of opportunities. This was born from feedback that we received from different advisors. It's just a couple of short sentences, a deadline, and a link about scholarships, job opportunities, mentorship opportunities, paid internships, events, all sorts of content. And we know that many of our advisors just plug and play that into their newsletter, onto their social media channels. Some of them just straight out forward it to their students. It is a tool for you to, again, just make hopefully life a little easier as you work to bring public and international service to your students and to your campuses. So you'll start to get those emails as soon as we can get all of the data processed, probably beginning next week. But even in the meantime, I'll be sure to put the link for the April 6th webinar in the chat so that you have it if you want to share that with your students. So with that, I wanted to turn the floor over to my colleague, Briana, who can talk to you a little bit more about our work, particularly around prospective students and some of the other tools we have.
Thank you, Carmen, and thank you all for joining us today. As Carmen said, my name is Brianna Suarez, and I'm the International Admissions and Operations Manager here at APSIA. And my work is really working with our colleagues in admissions, some of which you've heard throughout the week here. And so internally, I work with our colleagues, right, to share data for them to become ultimately better schools of international affairs. But we also have the external portion of working with prospective students to not only make the entry into graduate school as easy as possible, but again, give them the resources and opportunities for them to have careers after they graduate, hopefully from an APSIA school. So we have a number of resources that are available to prospective students free of cost to them all. Again, so that they can start to see that this field is open and inclusive to any and all that are interested in international affairs, whatever the interest may be. So one of the first things that I want to point you all to is that we offer, as Carmen said, many events throughout the year. In July, starting in July, we start hosting a number of events on recruitment. So for those students that are interested in graduate school and want to connect with many of our school's representatives, we host a numerous of graduate school fairs. Pre-COVID times, we would have these fairs in person, but we also have online graduate school fairs, again, that are free. And I'm going to bring that up quickly, which we will actually open registration, hopefully Monday, where they can log on, and I can pull this up. Oh, that's fine, I don't need to share it. But anyways, they can register and connect with our colleagues that will be online for them to chat, ask any questions about, admissions, these programs, and again, make those connections with the admissions teams if they're so interested in, so that by the time that they do apply, hopefully they have someone that they know on the admissions team, and they have all of their all of their questions answered, excuse me. So this is the page we will share with you all hopefully next week so that you can share it all with your students. We have one in July. So the first one will be July 21st, starting at 10 a.m. And then we have a second one. If July is a little bit too early for your students, we'll have another one September 29th, a little bit closer to the deadline for graduate school. We also have virtual open houses. So this was born during the pandemic. As I said, before the pandemic, we would have graduate school fairs in person, but when the pandemic hit, we had to move online, excuse me. And so now we host a series of virtual open houses where students can learn about a specific topic and programs that offer those specific topics and ask their questions to a couple of our schools that offer that specific topic. And those will hopefully be put online shortly. When that happens, we will make sure to let you all know. Aside from the recruitment piece and the events where they can connect with our admissions teams, we also have many webinars that we offer prospective students. So we have, as Carmen mentioned, our monthly webinars where we cover, for example, best practices in applying to graduate school. If you attended yesterday's session where we talked a little bit about helping students, we go a little bit more in depth specifically from the student perspective, right? So how do you craft a good application for graduate school? How do you find the right program? How do you find scholarships and fellowships to pay for graduate school, hopefully not out of pocket, career opportunities, and so forth. So we have those monthly. There will be one in April, another one in May, where students can register for that. We also have webinars for careers in international affairs. We go a little bit more in depth on what a career in international affairs can be. How do you tie your interest to hopefully a career moving forward? How do you gain the skills needed to be successful in the field of international affairs, and so forth. And then we also have another webinar that we are happy to provide you all if you so are interested in on how to prepare for the global marketplace, which is a little bit more broad. It covers not just careers in international affairs, but again, how do you prepare for going into a field, right, that has a touch of international affairs? What are the skills you can gain, etc. And we also tailor these presentations, right? So I mentioned the top 3 presentations that we can kind of just give out verbatim pretty easily. But if there's a need that you see your students have, or a presentation that you would like us to tailor or create, we are very much available and happy to do so. You can go on the PISA website and just, as Carmen showed, request a presentation from us. And we're happy to narrow down the dates, what you need, and so forth. Aside from that, as Carmen also mentioned, we have our monthly office hours where students can come and chat with us about whatever needs they have, whether it's about graduate school, whether it's about their career opportunities. I've chatted with students just solely on the differences between an MA and a JD, why they would be maybe interested in a dual degree program, why they may be interested in studying outside of the United States or outside of their home country, etc. We're very much available and happy to connect with any and all students on whatever they want to chat with. So if they want to, they can do so at our monthly office hours without having to make an appointment with us. But with that being said, we also are available to have scheduled meetings with them if they so want to. They can just email us or go on our Calendly. I know Carmen has her calendar available where they can just click a time and make an appointment with us, and we can, guide them as best as we can, especially through the field of international affairs. And then lastly, what I do want to say is that we are here also to help you with your planned programming. So maybe you have a event coming up where you want to bring together a panel from different sectors to talk about just careers, period, whether that is on international affairs or whether that's, on commerce, on business, and so forth. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are always happy to help you in your planned programming, whether that is in providing alums, APSIA alums that can speak on a panel, whether that is us speaking on a panel about careers, about a trajectory into international affairs, anything of such, whatever programming you already have in the works, we are happy to support in any way that we can. In 2021, we served as panelists at various organizations for various schools as well. So we are very well versed in that field and happy to provide any resources and any intel that we may have. And the last thing that I want to point you all towards is that we ourselves have a internship that is open to any and all students. So we have our international communications and marketing internship. We host students every semester. We've had interns remote even before the pandemic. So we are very well versed in that field of having interns serve remotely. It has a stipend with it. So that is something that I like to personally cheer on. I'm someone that likes to point students towards paid internships because it is work after all. So our internship is a semester-long internship where they work with us on a numerous events and numerous projects that cover the gamut of social media, right? Crafting language to promote international affairs to the public audience, newsletters, helping us promote our events and so forth. But we also work with our students that are our interns to help them gain the skills that they want to gain so they can add it to their resume. So we are still looking for applications from students if they are interested. Again, it is a paid internship. It has a stipend tied to it, $500 stipend. So if you see any students that are still looking for internships for the spring/summer, please feel free to send them our way and we'd be happy to look through their application. But with that, that's pretty much all I had to cover. Again, if there are any questions you may have, please feel free to put it in the chat, or unless Carmen has something else to say, I'm happy to open it up to you and your questions, whether it's APSIA related on our work specifically, whether it's something that you saw this week that you wanted to go a little bit more deep into that you think we can help you all with, whether it's just a random question you may have, please feel free. We're happy to just start and jump right in. So I see a hand up. I'm gonna first call on the person with the hand up, then we'll go to the chat and then we'll bounce back and forth. You are also able to unmute yourself as we go along. So, and again, thank you for listening to us talk a little bit about APSIA. And yeah, let's just jump right into questions. So Mariana, I see, or if that is how you pronounce your name, feel free to unmute yourself and
Pretty
ask
close.
away.
Thank you.
Okay,
And thank you for inviting us and for this fabulous overview of all the amazing things that we can benefit from because of you. So thank you, first of all. But my question is around the differences in your membership levels, right? So I understand you have an institutional membership, and then there's something called affiliate membership, which maybe you can explain just a little bit about that and what would be the value add for us to explore those things versus, frankly, taking advantage of all the stuff you offer we don't have to pay for, right?
So I'll take this one, Bria, unless you, okay. So mooch away, I guess, is the short answer. The community in APSIA, as was mentioned, has two types of institutional connection. Members are graduate schools that have met or exceeded APSIA's 6 criteria. So programs of high academic quality, the depth of international affairs and instruction, the level of professional focus, having at least one program that is 2 years in length, having graduated at least 3 classes from that 2-year program, and then having the autonomy typically associated with an independent school in higher education. And we phrase it that way because for the most part, we have the School of International Affairs, the school of that, but we have some institutions that are independent, autonomous units, but if they were in a university, they would function like a school. So to become an APSIA member, there is a rigorous application process that only about 50% of schools actually pass to become a full member of APSIA. To be an APSIA affiliate is, again, an institutional connection that has met or most, but not necessarily all of those criteria. So again, it's institutional based to be that member or affiliate, that when we talk about sort of our inside work and our internally facing work and our externally facing work, or the internal piece there are members and affiliates. For PISA, which would be all of you, we would consider that external. And thanks to investors like the Robertson Foundation, thanks to contributions from members and affiliates, we are able to let you steal blatantly from all of the tools and resources that we have. So while we are able to do this, the ask of all of you is that you share it with your students and that you do steal blatantly and that you do mooch off of us. We want your students, we want to get this in the hands of your students. We want to inspire and educate your students about why they should come to APSIA schools. And oh, steal, it's fine, Mariana. So, this for us, that's the way we divide our work. And so we're able to do all of this for your students, again, whether they're undergrads, if you serve alumni and they're thinking about mid-career programs, if they're thinking about PhD programs, all of that is there for you and for them, thanks to our members, affiliates, and foundations like RFG.
Thank you both so much. That was very clear, and I did look at your website first, but I was happy to hear it. So thank you so much.
And if folks are curious, I'm happy to talk more about the application process, but that's sometimes more insider baseball than folks are curious about. Other things we can answer, address, stuff you wrestle with that you would like to group hive mind.
Things you saw this week that you're interested in delving into, questions that maybe weren't answered throughout the week that you still are grappling with. Maybe something wasn't as clear in one of the presentations, we are happy to try to tackle here.
Tools you wonder if they exist. One of the common questions that came up this week was that idea of, isn't international affairs only the State Department? And that's something we work very hard to address, not because we don't love our State Department colleagues, but because we know how much bigger the space is than that. But we do have lots of tools and resources for those who are called to public service on the PISA website, whether it's about building a federal resume, dealing with the security clearance process, some of the fellowships and scholarships and opportunities that offer what's called non-competitive eligibility. So we do have lots of tools for those called into public service, both domestic and international, but you'll also see ways that students can come in through the business sector. So for those of you who work with a wide range of students and they're trying to marry their major in computer science, or I had a kid a couple weeks ago majoring in dance, we're also happy to have those kinds of connecting conversations. Since Briana and I and Baogang live in this murky world all the time, where I've also had advisors just call me, there's a kid in my office who is trying to marry their basket weaving major with an international interest. How do I do that? We're happy to be of service that way too.
And that's also where we, just to jump in quickly, that's also where you can point them to the International Career Guide, which I think is an extensive resource and a great resource that really breaks down international affairs outside of the Foreign Service, Department of State sector, that really shows students, again, this is a field that is open to anyone and everyone, so long as you connect your interests. As one of the things I often point to is public health was something people didn't think as international affairs, but then the pandemic came and we realized how interconnected we were and how important, right, public health is, not just locally, but internationally, and how that, really affected us all. So I really, really want to point you all to, as well, the International Career Guide. If you have students like that have no idea how to connect those interests, show them that resource, and it's a great first starting step to start, widening their scope past the traditional path that many students tend to think they have to go down. But Carmen, you were going to say something, and sorry for cutting you off.
No, cut always. Interrupt me always, Briana. I saw Marie's question in the chat about Devex and thoughts on Devex generally. For those who may not be familiar, Devex is an association, a community particularly focused on the humanitarian and international development sector. They have some blog posts and free tools and resources, and then a number of things that are for their members. Marie, they can have some really interesting, great tools. They do some really interesting events, and Brianna and I have both been invited to speak at different Devex events or to contribute to their blogs. With the paywall, there are limits to what folks can access. And so one of the questions might be whether your institution can do it as a university-wide investment for everyone to benefit from. One of the questions, if that's not possible or not desirable, might be where else can you get that content, even if it's not solely in that one place. So if you have an interest in humanitarian relief, maybe a group like Interaction might have other events, other tools that will have a lower price point or no price point to get into that space. Perhaps the Society for International Development, which has student level membership, or some different events that are free or different content that's free and accessible might be a possibility. There are websites like Relief Web, and if I'm talking too fast or making absolutely no sense, please just put in the chat, Carmen, stop, or translate that into English. The Relief Web has a free listserv of jobs. Some of them are more mid-career, some of them are higher level, but that can also be beneficial for students to read ahead, to say, okay, I'm now a sophomore or a junior. In 5 years, I want to be competing for that water and sanitation and health position, or that monitoring and evaluation position, or I really want to work in Rwanda, but I don't know what that means. Relief Web might be able to also let students project forward a little bit and think about what the goal looks like, and then build backwards between where they are and where they want to be. So there might be ways, as useful as Devex is as a centralized location, to still get access to those pieces if investing specifically in that tool and resource is beyond what you're able to reach now. The same is true for students who might be called to service in the government. Lots of folks ask the same question about a place like Daybook, which again can be a paid tool and resource, but then they regularly post free jobs and opportunities. Students can follow them on social media and see all of the jobs and opportunities they post there. For those interested in work on Capitol Hill, both the House and the Senate have free email services where every Monday I get an email in my inbox that drops jobs and internships on Capitol Hill in the House into my inbox for free every Monday, that I'm able to then turn around and share with others. So even if Daybook as a centralized resource might be out of reach, there are ways to get at that information in those pieces outside of those particular paid service. Again, our colleagues at Devex do great work, but we know that the money it's real, and it's a real factor to get into those places and spaces. Gail, you're smiling, so at least I'm making sense this early in the morning. What else can we share? We know there's lots of common questions that folks face, and we try to build tools and resources so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. There's too much to do and too many students to serve for each of you individually to fight that fight on your own. So what else can we answer? How else can we help? Things you'd like to see, things you're curious about, whether they exist or not. We've done such an excellent job, Bree. This is amazing.
Pack it up, Car. We've done it. We have.
Take the rest of the day off, all of you. You've get my blessing to just blow off the rest of your workday. Some of the other, I mean, on the graduate school piece. Oh, please. Oh, I don't know if that's applause or hands up. I'll take both. That's fine. We also get a lot of questions about graduate school, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we encourage all of you to encourage all of your students to really start with that fundamental why. Why are you doing this? We love them, we want to see them, we welcome them, but it's just more beneficial for them. They get so much more out of it when they're there for a reason, rather than drifting into it like I did about, well, I didn't know what else to do with myself, so I figured I'd go over here. And I think one of our panelists shared that yesterday as well. We've distracted Hannah. Hannah, come back. The career guide is awesome. It will be there for you later. We also have one thing we didn't mention actually is lots of videos on our YouTube page where different employers unpack their space. A lot of that is content we've done for our graduate students, but it's publicly available. So if students are curious about the UN, we've had a number of sessions with UNHCR, the High Commission for Refugees, the UN Young Professionals Program. Again, as they think forward a little bit, a lot of them dream of a UN job, but they have no concept of what that means or where that is in their trajectory. Most entry-level UN jobs are a master's plus 3 to 5. So for that wonderful, intrepid kid who's 18 and just wants to be UN SecGen, talking to them about some of that longer range planning and pointing them at these videos where actual UN professionals say that to them instead of you, that's definitely there. We're creating a number of, we have some alumni telling their stories. So there's a playlist there for you in that way. And then we also have some really nice, very short, tight 2-minute videos that the team has developed, where it's 2 minutes on paying for graduate school or 2 minutes about discerning what program makes the most sense for you. So for the kid who maybe can't or won't spend 58 minutes hearing someone unpack a longer topic, there's some really nice short, tight content that can also be useful when you need a Twitter post or a Facebook post to fill up a Friday. And we're also happy to come do that kind of stuff when you have career weeks, when you have job fairs. If you need any speakers in that regard, as Brianna said, we're 100% here to be of service.
And I do want to say that we are still developing various videos in different languages as well. So some of those videos on unpacking, finding the right program are not just available in English, because you may all be serving students that are speaking different languages. So we have them in Spanish, we have them in Korean, I believe, Chinese. We're working on Vietnamese, not Vietnamese, that is not a language. We are working different languages still, but those are available to any and all students, again, to make it as accessible and as available to any and anyone who is interested, outside of just English speakers, because international affairs is not just an English speaking field. That is the point. It is open to any and all different language speakers. So please feel free to browse the YouTube page for those videos. And we also have many videos on advisor webinars. So specifically for you all, we have had many webinars specifically tailored to content that you find useful that is on our website as well, excuse me, on our YouTube page as well.
And to build on that, we've had a number of fellowships come brief advisors. So if there's anyone you're curious to hear from, hey, I hear there's this Boren thing, I hear there's this Pickering Wrangle thing, we have some of that past content, but also feel free to email either of us or any of the three of us and say, do you all know anyone at the Critical Language Scholarship, such as we welcomed our colleague from CLS earlier this week. They're happy to come do that for the whole group. They're also happy usually to come speak to your students directly. So if you know you have a good cadre of students who would benefit from hearing about CLS or Boren or Pickering or Wrangle or Payne, and if I'm not making any sense or you don't know what any of those things are, stop me. And we can easily make those connections to bring those folks into your classrooms. They love to do that. They love to send you their brochures, to send you their propaganda. You know, they want to engage with your students as much as we do and as much as you want them to.
Any last minute questions? Again, anything you're curious about, any questions you get a lot from students that you have no idea how to answer, something of the week that you, or even a comment. We will, at this point, we'll take, you know, comments, whether this was a great week, whether you can say if it was not a great week. We would appreciate feedback. We hope it was a great week. Feel free. Any last minute questions, comments, please do not be shy. We know we're good at our job, but we can definitely be better. So. All right, Car, I think we can wrap it up then. I don't want to hold people longer than we should, so.
Absolutely. And going forward, like I said, the listserv will be there. If tonight in the shower you go, oh God, why didn't I ask that question? The list will be there. We are here for you. I said this on Monday, and it's still as true on Friday. This is the beginning of our relationship, certainly not the end. And we very much look forward to being in touch with all of you and to serving you and serving your students. Later today, you will get an evaluation from us looking at the whole week. So please let us know, as Brianna said, where we've not succeeded as much as we wanted to and where you think this has been helpful and what we can do to be of service to you. And we look forward to seeing everyone at future APSIA events. Please do this very short poll and then a longer poll. The joy of big data is that we're always collecting data. So let us know how we did. Thanks, Jesse. I'm so glad this has been beneficial to all of you. Oh, everybody, thank you. We're so glad to have you here.
Yep. Thank you for taking time out of your day and your week to join us. We know this is especially a very busy time for you all, so we really appreciate your time. And again, this is all in service to you all to hopefully make your lift a little bit easier. Please feel free to reach out to us, to come back to us and ask us questions. Again, make your job as easy as possible. We are happy to provide any and all resources as available.
All right. Thank you all for completing the poll. Thank you all for being here and have a great weekend. It's supposed to be cold and rainy in DC, but hopefully better where you are. And we'll see you all soon. I'm talking to myself.
All right.